So the videos that we have are, the first one is from Mark Udall, Democrat running for re-election to the U.S. Senate. Then we'll go right into John Hickenlooper, Democrat running for re-election as governor of Colorado. And then Don Quick, Democrat running for Colorado Attorney General. And I will reiterate, an equal effort was made to reach out to every candidate with many opportunities and reminders, and these are the 3 videos we got, and in fairness, we thought we needed to show those. So we will begin with that.
I have the honor to work for Colorado every day as your United States Senator. I'm Mark Udall. As Coloradans, our Western spirit of strength and independence is truly unique, and it's those values that I take to my work in the Senate. That's why when the NSA was violating our privacy with a dragnet collection of Americans' private phone records, I stood up to members of my own party and the President to defend our constitutional rights. It's also why I fought to make sure that middle-class families have a fair shot at economic success. And that means raising the minimum wage, making college more affordable, and finally making sure that women get equal pay for equal work. That also means I continue fighting to make sure that nobody, not your boss, not a politician, not a judge, gets between a woman and her private health decisions. My approach to solving problems has always been to find the common ground we share, work to resolve differences, and always do right by Colorado. I'm Mark Udall. I'm asking for your vote because working together, we can continue leading Colorado forward.
4 years ago, we promised to run a positive campaign, and we did. We took the same approach across Colorado. We promised to focus on the economy, and we did right away. Colorado has improved from 40th to 4th in the nation for job creation, and unemployment is down from 9.1% to 5.5%. In September 2013, when the floods devastated our communities, we promised to get all roads and bridges open by December 1st. And we did, before Thanksgiving. Keeping promises, working together, delivering results. That's how we move Colorado up.
This is the Adams County Justice Center. It's the courthouse where I prosecuted a lot of cases over my 26 years as a prosecutor. I've locked up violent criminals, repeat offenders, and people that violated the public trust. But locking people up can't be your only strategy. Let me show you what else we need to do to make our community safe. Let me take you to another corner here in Brighton at 19th and Longspeak and show you a better way of providing community safety. Here at this one corner in Brighton, we have a boys and girls club and an elementary school on this side of the street, and the county jail and the coroner's office are on the other side of the street. This corner is what this campaign is all about. We're at a crossroads, and the question is, are we going to invest in our kids and our families so they stay on this side of the street? Or are we just going to continue to build more and more prisons to lock them up? In Adams County, we put a community partnership together. School districts, law enforcement agencies, social services. And we put our efforts into keeping our kids in school. And after 8 years, we experienced a 44% drop in juvenile crime and a 92% drop in the most serious class of juvenile crime. We did that in Adams County, and as your Attorney General, I'll see to it that we do it in communities across the state of Colorado and achieve those similar results.
Okay, thank you for your attention, and now we'll get to the candidates that are here in person. So first of all, I would like to introduce Abel Tapia. He is a Democrat running for representative to the U.S. Congress, District 3. Abel, if you'd like to start with a 2-minute opening.
I would, and I want to start by thanking everybody for being here tonight. I'm just so pleased to be here. It's just a great place to visit. I came with friends, and I've actually sent my son up here with his 7 girls, and that was a shameless way of trying to get support. But I I have a 20-year political career behind my belt. I served on the school board for 8 years. I was elected to the State House of Representatives and then the State Senate. I was term limited in 2010. At that time, I took the job as the executive director for the Colorado Lottery. And I say all that because I think it has some significance in this community. But I haven't been in politics as a politician. I have a 40-year working career that I worked in industry, and then I owned my own company for 30 years. The issues that are very important to me are, number one, having an atmosphere to create economic development. That's with small businesses, and also infrastructure, of which I know a lot about because I'm a civil engineer. Number two is protecting seniors and protecting our veterans. Our veterans deserve being given the best care possible, not only when they serve, but when they come back here and they have injuries that need to be resolved. We have let them down, and I'm committed to continuing the fight. My last major issue for me is education. I served on the school board for 8 years, but my passion lied in me getting an education and being able to use that education to go forward. So thank you for having me here today.
Okay, Abel, I'm going to ask you 3 questions. The first question is, in doing a little reading, I've heard you talk about the inactivity in Washington. And so what would you do specifically to change that inactivity?
Well, thank you. Right now, Congress has a rating of about 8% of favorability. In the last 2 years, there has been the least number of bills carried and the least number of days worked. That is combined with the gridlock and the partisan posturing that I've seen. That was actually what encouraged me to get involved and actually want to run for this seat. In my 12 years in the legislature, I worked with Republican governors, I've worked with Republican majority, and I was very successful. The key is to find common denominators. What are the common denominators? They might be rural Colorado, they might be education, they might be agriculture, they might be immigration. But you find the common denominators and reach out to the other side so that we can come up to some sort of reasonable compromise. That hasn't been happening, and I want to make it happen.
Okay, thank you. You have also talked about responsible development of fossil fuels and renewable energy. What does that mean for Colorado and the future of the energy industry here?
Well, yes. In my capacity of serving in industry, I worked for CF&I Steel Corporation in Pueblo. It had quite an array of minerals. I worked my way up to assistant chief mining engineer, that including coal mines, iron ore mines. I feel it's somewhat industry related. But I absolutely feel that we have to have a portfolio of energy sources in our country because we cannot rely on the Middle East for our energy dependence. We have vast reserves of energy here in our state. We should look into developing those, but not at the risk of hurting our environment. When we talk about our government and our environment, it's everybody's land that we're talking about, all of our land. We need to make sure we do it responsibly, and that's what I would advocate for.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, the 3rd Congressional District is the 7th largest district in the country. And with that size, obviously, there's going to be varying groups to represent. So how would you plan to represent all of these different interests?
Well, one of the things that I've learned in the 3rd Congressional District is that it's so vast, But what distinguishes us from the metro area is we are rural. And rural actually comes with different demands. We're also heavily agriculture based. As I go to Palisade and their peaches, and Olathe and their corn, and the San Luis Valley and their potatoes, and even Pueblo with its chili, we find that agriculture is so important, but getting an adequate workforce there is paramount to all of the farmers and ranchers that we have. And meaningful immigration reform is needed. There is the interest, there is the desire, and it actually is economic based in this 3rd Congressional District. Water is also, without water, we don't have agriculture.
Thank you. And now we would give you a minute to close for this evening. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm just so pleased to be here. I'm honored to be able to run for Congress. It's such a great state. I served it in the state legislature. I believe I can serve it in the federal government. There are distinct differences from me and my opponent. All you have to do is see what we are promoting and what he is promoting. It really is distinct, but what I feel is that we need to put up the level of confidence we have in our elected representatives. That's one desire that I have. And the way you do that is by taking action to go around the state. We've had several forums. I've been by myself at the forums. My opponent hasn't joined me at any of the debates here locally, and I think that's a disservice to this community. I vow and promise that I will be here. If I represent you, I will be here to listen to your concerns.
Thank you very much. Next, we have State Board of Education candidates for District 3. That would be Dr. Henry Roman and Marcia Neal. Dr. Roman, I will let you start with your 2-minute opening, and then Marcia, you can follow after.
Thank you, and once again, thanks to all the sponsors for this wonderful occasion to give us an opportunity to share with you our thoughts, our ideas of what needs to happen, in particular at the State Board of Education. As you know, I'm a candidate in 3rd CD. It's a large district. I didn't realize it was 7th. I heard that it was at least as large as Florida. So it takes a lot of work to get everywhere, but I want to commit to you that I will do everything I possibly can to get to every county and every district to hear the concerns, because our concerns on the Western Slope and Southern Colorado are different than those concerns in the larger metro area. I bring something to the State Board that isn't there right now. I bring a depth and breadth of experience that I don't see there yet. They're wonderful individuals, but for example, I started teaching in 1969 as a math high school teacher. Loved it, but then I moved on to be middle school and high school principal, central office administrator, deputy superintendent, and superintendent of Pueblo with 18,000 students for 8 years. And I retired in 1999, and after retirement, I thought I was just going to play golf. Didn't happen. I have this passion for education. That's something that's really significant for me, that I realized after now 45 years in the business that I really care that every youngster realize their full potential. That's extremely important for me for a lot of reasons. I'm sure many of the ones that you share with me. But after that, I did head up 3 charter schools. I also worked in a little district of 350 students. I was their superintendent for 4 years, and I fell in love with that community. It was a rural, small, very similar to all our districts in the Western Slope in Southern Colorado. I bring that experience that's not there. I bring the knowledge as an administrator that's not there right now. But I have that passion for education that I'm sure I share with many others, but that would be something that I'd like to offer our State Board.
Thank you all for having me here. I loved coming to Steamboat Springs. It's one of my favorite places. Contrary to some of the arguments you may have heard lately, and left over from my primary race also, I want to make it very clear that I am, number one, opposed to Common Core and opposed to the federal overreach, which is swamping our schools with unwanted legislation and such. I have much to offer. As my friend Phyllis, who brought me up here today, and it's okay to brag, I guess, if she did it. She said, "You have learned so much in 6 years." And it's true, I have. And I share Henry's background, so I would have a little problem with him saying we didn't have this. I spent 25 years in the classroom teaching American history. I spent 8 years on the Board of Education in Mesa County, and then have now been completing 6 years. And I have much to offer. I just feel the learning curve is so steep. I support local control. I support school choice. I am supportive of, can't read my own writing. This is a critical time in education. And there's a lot of problems out there, and you don't have to listen much to know. It's a critical time. And it's a crossroads in which we must, number one, elect a Republican governor, number two, elect Republican legislators, and number three, retain Republican control on the State Board of Education. If we are going to undo the work that's been done in the last few years with Common Core and PARCC testing, we need to be able to do that, and I'm the one who can. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. And so I will offer this first question to Marcia for you to answer, and then we'll trade back and forth. So the first question is, do you think the standards set out by Common Core are too low or too high for Colorado students? Please explain.
Actually, I think the standards are just standards, and they probably could be higher. But there's a lot of misunderstanding around standards. A lot of people think that that drives our curriculum. It's what you do with the standards that matters. You can take a standard and you can rise it to a high level, or you can just breeze through it. So standards are important. I think you can always have higher standards. I would be much in favor of having higher standards, but we need to take the standards that we have and work with them. The standards, a lot of people misunderstand that the standards are not the problem with Common Core. The federal government is the problem with Common Core. Teaching to standards, we have a lot of school districts that are doing great work teaching to standards. So we just need to keep this within Colorado, because I do believe in local control.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I recall the question. Our standards in Colorado that we had before Common Core were high, and these match up nicely with our Colorado standards. So I believe these standards are high enough. As Marcia indicated, they could be higher, but and when you look at the standards across the country, ours are very high and excellent. What concerns me is what we do with those standards after. We don't want to be changing the standards from time to time. We have to give a good, clear message to our districts, our superintendents, our teachers, that these are the standards, and then we hold to them. And then we need to have a good system to assess these standards. And if we keep changing the standards back and forth, then we're going to confuse not only the children, but the staff as well. The standards and assessment system that we have in place right now is excellent, and I believe that the standards that we have are more than adequate for our needs as we move forward into the 21st century.
Thank you. The next question, Dr. Roman, I'll direct this to you first. Do you believe teacher tenure and teacher performance evaluations should be tied to student test scores? Why or why not?
Well, no, I don't feel they should be tied directly to student test scores, because there's so many other variables that enter into the assessment of a student, not the least of which is parent involvement, not the least of which is low socioeconomic status. Those are strong predictors of how students are going to do on scores. But clearly, teachers have a great say in what happens in that classroom. We just need to be very reasonable and fair in how we approach the assessment of students, and tying it to tenure as it can be rather punitive unless we're very careful of how we approach that. So I'm concerned that in the future, as we move forward with Senate Bill 191, that we be very careful to make sure that we're fair and reasonable. Accountability is certainly an issue, is certainly something that everybody accepts. Every teacher I've talked to, every principal I've talked to, say yes, please evaluate us. All we want is please be fair and be reasonable.
I would have to agree with Henry on a lot of this. I think it's very important that we evaluate teachers. I think the tenure system is one that we have complained about forever. I think it's time that we rewarded excellent teachers and removed and encouraged teachers, new teachers and such, to do better and remove those few that are not doing their job. I totally believe in that. However, I will agree that the present legislation is rather clumsy and rather difficult. Number one, is 50% of it is on test scores, and we haven't even we haven't completed the PARC testing, so we're trying to evaluate them on something we don't have at this time. And as a teacher, I think a good principal can do a lot of that, just walking through the classroom and making those evaluations. So I think the system, I totally agree in teacher evaluation and rewarding those excellent teachers and removing those that aren't. But I think the present plan is rather awkward, and I think it needs refined.
Thank you. Okay, the last question. What, and you answered this a little bit in your introductions, but what uniquely qualifies you to serve on a board tasked with supervising Colorado's public schools?
As I already said, I learned so much, but some of those things I learned is a lot of questions about unintended consequences. I don't think we think about those. And for instance, we are having a conversation right now about U.S. history and how we should teach it all. And when we adopted No Child Left Behind way back in the mid-90s, they made a decision not to test social studies. I don't think anybody meant to say don't teach social studies, but they didn't test it. Therefore, a lot of people stopped teaching it or stopped doing it well. And so that unintended consequence has had a big impulse. So I think I feel confident, and I have seen so many of these kind of things coming across our desk. I just feel I'm confident to deal with them.
Thank you.
I believe I may have answered this question in my opening comments, but let me add this to that. In addition to all the other work that I described, I'm now a consultant for the Colorado Association of School Boards, and I conduct superintendent searches in various districts when they lose their superintendent. The reason I mention that is because I have to learn a great deal about the school district. I do focus groups with the students and the staff and obviously the school board. I have to learn about the candidates that are coming in, and then it's a very serious process to get a match between that school board and the superintendents to be hired. During that process, I've had the good fortune of finding superintendents all across the western slope in southern Colorado, and I learned a great deal about their needs. And I think that I bring that to the table to the state board. Current needs, current concerns, current issues, and more importantly, solutions, probable solutions, possible solutions that the individuals in the field have to offer. We ought to listen to them and bring that forward, and I believe I can do that.
Thank you very much. And so to close, we will start with Marcia.
One of the things I haven't mentioned so far that I wanted to bring up is my support for school trust lands and the income which they bring to our schools. And I have frequently spoken out and written a few essays and letters to the editors about this. When you close down energy industries, particularly such as the coal industry, and I saw an example of this, there's a sharp reduction because school trust lands are located, they're all located all over the place, but they're located in our national forests and in our national. So that's a sort of side issue of mine. The other thing is, once again, that I just feel I have learned so much in this time. And one of the things I never seem to do enough of is to support local schools, to visit local schools and to get to local schools. I had 2 or 3 conversations out in the lobby just tonight about local schools and the problems they had. And again, as you mentioned, the 3rd CD is pretty big. It's a little difficult to get around. And there's 7 members of the board, and they can all leave their home and come back at night, and I'm still out driving, so that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. I have a passion for education. I said that earlier. But let me tell you a little bit more about that passion. My wife is a second grade teacher, so I hear all the time about the many challenges, the many issues that she faces in her classroom. I could go on and on describing those. But that hits me close to home because I also mentor 2 children at one of our local middle schools that's not doing as well as it should. These youngsters have serious problems that they bring to the classroom each and every day. And we need to be aware of those problems, but more importantly, we need to find solutions to these problems. These youngsters are so important. We care about these kids. We should care even more. And then I tutor some math kids. And my goodness, that's a passion that I have. I said I was a math teacher in 1969. I still have that love for mathematics. I want every kid to be successful in math. And let me tell you that I really want every kid to be successful, to realize his or her full potential, regardless of where they live in this wonderful third CD. And I've seen some beautiful places. This is one of them.
Thank you very much. Next, we will bring up our candidates for State Representative District 26, Chuck McConnell and Diane Mitch Bush. Okay, and since we're going by ballot order, I believe Chuck will begin with his 2-minute opening.
Thank you, Lisa. Good evening, everybody. And thanks very much to the organizers and to all of you who came here tonight to hear about the choices for House District 26. I'm Chuck McConnell. I think most of you know about my background, but in case you don't, I've got pretty complete bios out in the hallway, and I would ask you to take a look at them. We have very little time tonight, so I'm going to get right to some matters that are important to you. I think this election is about leadership and accountability. I bring both of those skills to this campaign and to the office. My opponent and I differ on many significant policy issues. I'm going to talk about 2 issues that I think are important to you, and they are important to me. I don't believe in raising taxes. People who earn their money know better how to spend that than the government does. I didn't support Amendment 66 last year because it would have increased our taxes by about $1 billion every year. I believe that government should be as free as possible from wasteful spending so that the dollar of taxes that are collected by the state go to those areas where there is real need. On a second issue, I reject the Obama administration announced war on coal, and I have not been silent on this war. And if you don't believe there's a war, ask a coal miner. Yeah, we have really clean coal at the 20-mile coal mine, but this issue, this war, is about carbon dioxide. We've got 400 families in this area that depend on these high-paying jobs. And next year, there's going to be legislation introduced, I have heard, that will be a so-called carbon tax. Well, folks, I'll stand up for you as your representative. I'll organize West Slope support in the State House for our jobs, our recreation economy, and our water while protecting the environment. I'll always do my best to let you know where I stand, and when you send me to the State Assembly, you'll get the representation that you voted for. I'm Chuck McConnell, and thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here, and a huge thanks to the sponsors. I'm running for re-election on my record and on promises kept. I promised you I'd go down to the Capitol, roll up my sleeves, and work across the continental divide and the partisan divide to help build a better future for all Coloradans. My record shows I've done that. I've earned a reputation at the Capitol for transparency, for integrity, for fiscal responsibility, and for always doing my homework, and most importantly, for representing you, for what's called voting my district. I don't vote a party line. I don't vote for special interests. I vote for you. I've cut red tape without sacrificing community and environmental values. I've worked on 2 balanced budgets that invest in our state and at the same time increase our reserves. I've co-sponsored a variety of bills to help businesses, small businesses especially, create jobs, good jobs, with tax incentives for job creation and with a reduction in the business personal property tax. All of my bills have passed with bipartisan support, all of them, all 13 of them. That's very unusual, and the reason that happened is because I bring people together. I sit down with people and we talk about the issues, all the stakeholders, and we hammer out consensus and solutions that really work. I've been honored and humbled to be your state representative, and I'd be so honored to continue as your strong mountain community voice and to have your vote. Thank you.
Okay, we'll start with Diane for this question. And Chuck, you'll of course have the chance to answer this as well. What specific legislation would you propose to stimulate Colorado's, and in particular, Routt County's economy?
As I said in my introduction, I've already co-sponsored a variety of legislation to help small businesses, and that's critical for Routt County. I've also sponsored tourism, funding for tourism and creative industries. I want to make sure that our tourism marketing fund, headed up by the most able Al White, who used to, of course, represent us, and now is in the Colorado Tourism Organization, stays. But another really critical part of our economy in Routt County and in the state is protecting our air, our water, and our wildlife habitat. That's why people come here. Location-neutral businesses have become really important in Routt County and indeed in Colorado as well. And one of the reasons that we attract these entrepreneurs, these people who could go anywhere and who bring expertise, who bring new businesses, is because of our quality of life and our environment. Another thing that can attract or detract from new business is a top-notch education system. Higher ed and K through 12. And that's one of the things that I fought for as your representative.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. We spoke about this in a debate last night. I do not have specific legislation that I think will be stimulative to the economy. Rather, what I think is that we need to have a state government that understands and that has the political will to get out of the way of business, to let business thrive, to let location-neutral businesses come to our area without encumbering them with too many unnecessary regulations. If anybody thinks that that means that I don't believe that we need regulations, I'm sorry, that's not right. We need regulations, but we do not need undue regulations that stop and that hinder job growth. I also think, and I mentioned this in my opening, that we need to be a place not like Illinois where the taxes are so high that it discourages the flow of money and entrepreneurship to that area. We need to keep our tax base low to keep our government efficient.
Thank you. Second question, and Chuck, you can answer first this time. Would you vote to repeal the renewable energy standards for electric co-ops? Why or why not?
Why, yes. Why, yes, I would. Senate Bill 13292 is a bill that I would vote to repeal. And the reason is this. In the first place, our electric co-ops across this great state and across the nation have, since from time immemorial, had the ability to freely choose how they generated the electricity that they sold to their customers. The state government has come in with House Bill 292 and has mandated a doubling from 10% to 20% of the renewable requirement. As far as I'm concerned, at some point, that is going to be a hit on coal and the coal mining industry. So, yeah, I would vote to repeal it because, number one, it's going to increase the cost of electricity to people, and it's also going to have the potential of hurting our mining jobs.
Thank you.
I voted for Senate Bill 252 in 2013 for many reasons. First and foremost, I looked at the data very, very carefully. And what I found was that the electric co-ops, not the other utilities, but just the electric co-ops that had the highest shares of renewables also had the lowest consumer prices. And that surprised me, but I found it to be a very important factor in my vote. Moreover, the assumption that the pie, the electricity pie, is static is really not accurate. We've seen recent data across the U.S. that more and more businesses and households are switching to electricity to heat their homes. What that means is that the pie will be expanding. So to say that if you have more renewables, you automatically have less coal may not be accurate. And third, and most importantly, I think, we right here in Routt County and Eagle County have a variety of wonderful businesses that have grown around renewables. Businesses that are well-paying, businesses that offer a lot to our communities, and businesses that focus on clean air and clean water, which attracts other businesses.
Okay. Chuck, you wanted to use your rebuttal?
Yes, when you couple the Obama administration EPA war on coal, which is going to mandate a 30% decrease in the amount of carbon dioxide emissions, with the carbon tax that is potentially going to be proposed in the next legislative session, with things that will double the amount of renewables, there will be an attack on coal. Coal will have to be a base load for our economy, for our electric generation for years and years to come, and it's the lowest cost energy there is.
Okay, Diane?
The data back in 2013 showed actually that bought wind, was the cheapest energy per kilowatt hour. It was at about 4.4 cents in 2013. Coal was about at 6. But more basically, and I think more importantly, when we think again about renewables and about coal and about natural gas, having a diverse energy portfolio is just like having a diverse financial portfolio. It's a hedge against volatility. And international markets in energy are notoriously volatile. So this helps us out.
Very good. I believe you guys have confused me with the rebuttals. I believe, does this question first go to Diane?
The next question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for keeping me in line. That threw me. Okay, what is the biggest difference between you and your opponent that you believe will make the biggest difference for Routt County?
My record. I have experience in balancing the state budget. I have experience in working together with stakeholders to build bills that will have made Colorado better. My 2013 House Bill 1278, which tightened the requirements on spills from oil and gas. I work closely with a whole variety of oil companies, with the oil industry, with the environmental community, and with local government. And we pulled together a consensus, a compromise on how to make sure that we didn't have our waterways polluted. And so that bill really focused on bringing people together to have practical, very feasible kinds of changes in the reporting regime. And by the time it got to committee, everyone was in favor of it. The president of the Colorado Petroleum Association was in favor of it. The head of Conservation Colorado was in favor of it. The municipalities were in favor of it because it was a practical bill that made sense. So my experience in doing my homework and knowing what's going on.
Thank you, Chuck.
Coincidentally, my background and experience, my career was mostly in the energy industry. I was an engineer for several years that required absolute common sense. In 5 years of school, I learned a lot of formulas, and when I got out of school, I learned that solving problems to earn my living depended upon common sense. I think that's a skill that is definitely needed in our assembly. I'm not a politician. I'm a business guy. I understand budgets. I understand profit and loss. The state government is not profit and loss, but those skills, believe me, will help keep our tax money going in the right direction. I have learned through my career to work with a diverse group of people, from unit operators in a refinery to boards of directors. I've been successful in being able to work with those folks and get things done. I can do that and will do that, and will bring that skill to the assembly.
Thank you very much. And now for closing, we will start with Diane. You have a 1-minute closing.
Thank you. Again, thank you all for being here. I'm honored and humbled to work for you every day. Every day. I'm running on my bipartisan record and promises kept. All our children need a clean, whole environment, a strong community fabric, and a vibrant economy that provides good jobs for all. Our businesses and families need a level playing field where everybody plays by the same rules and all have the opportunity to compete to succeed. I know how to build consensus to achieve these goals. I've done it. I know how to work effectively across the aisle. I've done it. I know how to balance the budget. I've done it. I walk my talk. I've always told you the truth. I believe that by building bridges, not barriers, by relying on the possibilities of partnership, not partisanship, and by looking to the evidence, not ideology, together we can build a better Colorado for all of us. And I'd be honored to continue serving you and be really honored to have your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Chuck?
Thank you, Lisa. At the risk of being boring, I'm going to go over my experience again because I think that that is important. I worked as a chemical engineer, and as a chemical engineer, I had to solve complex problems using a variety of methods to solve the problem and working with a variety of stakeholders. I believe that that's an important skill. As a successful businessman, I had to get into line-by-line budgeting for an $850 million company with 2,500 employees. I will bring these skills to the Colorado House, and I think that's important to us. I believe in the bright future for Colorado, and I have a positive vision for our state, for good jobs, and for a strong economy. I'll work hard as your representative to make this vision a reality. I'm Chuck McConnell. I thank everybody for being here, and I ask for your vote for the Colorado Assembly. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up are our candidates for Routt County Commissioner. We have Carrie Hermasinski. I don't know why I have such, it's like my name. It's like Slitchman. It's a hard one. And Steve Ivansy, Republican candidate and Democrat candidate. And again, 100 years ago, one side of my mother's family came here to work in the oil and gas fields, and the other side came to homestead down on Axel Basin, where they tried to earn a living out of the dirt. Like many kids that grew up in this community, I left after high school to pursue education and work before I had the opportunity to return to the Yampa Valley. My husband, Mark, is a Chicago native that always dreamed of living in the Rocky Mountains. And today we consider ourselves to be extremely fortunate to live here. We are living out our dreams in Routt County, and it's my hope that our children and their peers will be able to live out their dreams in Routt County when they're adults as well. That's what's motivating me to run for county commissioner. An effective county commissioner needs to identify areas where they can affect change and focus on those areas. An effective county commissioner will champion our traditional industries, and they'll work to remove unnecessary regulation that deter new businesses and new technologies. I'm a consultant in the telecommunications industry, and in 2012, AT&T asked me to build cell sites in Routt County. And I thought, this is great, because I knew at the time it was one of the #1 economic development goals of the county commissioners. But when I went and I reviewed the regulations, not only were they antiquated, they discouraged the development of telecommunications sites. Not a lot of that regulation went to life safety issues. Those regulations are still on the books, and that's just one industry example. We do have a list of services that we want our county government to provide to us, and I believe that we can support those priorities only to the extent that we have strong budgets. I have a proven track record of making good decisions with our taxpayer money. So if you're looking for a commissioner that will champion our traditional industries, work to get rid of unnecessary regulation that deters new businesses and technologies coming to Routt County, and will watch our taxpayer dollars, I'm your candidate. My name's Carrie Hermasinski, and I'd appreciate your vote. Thank you, Carrie. Steve?
Thank you, Lisa, forum organizers, and all you voters. I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve the people of Routt County, and I look forward to earning your vote to continue to guide Routt County for the next 4 years. My priorities are, number 1, a fiscally responsible budget, number 2, promote economic development, and number 3, preserve our natural resource economy. And we can all be proud of Routt County's strong financial management, continuing our pay-as-you-go, live within our means policy to maintain our infrastructure and for capital purchases. Recently, Standard & Poor's raised the county's bond issuer rating from A+ to AA. They recognize our strong financial management, excellent liquidity, low debt levels, and the fact that we continue to add to our reserves. I support the infrastructure improvements to the Yampa Valley Regional Airport, the tourist gateway to Routt County. Collaborated with the town of Hayden to upgrade its water system. I support our outstanding Routt County employees, including reinstating wages and benefits that were lost in the recession. And the prudent disbursement of PDR conservation funds is something we can all be very proud of. I support responsible energy development. We have developed regulations that require oil and gas industry to use the best management practices to protect our air quality, our aquifers, and to mitigate the impacts to our infrastructure. And I will continue to improve Routt County's quality of life through ensuring that we have 21st century infrastructure that supports a world-class economy. Part of my job is to ensure that the citizens of our county have the opportunity to live and work and raise a family. So I ask myself, are we making the investments today that our children and our grandchildren will thank us for tomorrow? I know we are. I am committed to a responsible budget, spending our taxpayer dollars as wisely and prudently as possible. I'm an effective full-time county commissioner, and I know Routt County is working, and I am working hard for all of Routt County. My name is Steve Ivancy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. We will begin now with, I believe, Carrie. Is that the right order? Steve, okay. So first question for you. Routt County has imposed a moratorium on the operation and establishment of marijuana cultivation facilities or stores in the unincorporated areas of Routt County. Do you believe the moratorium should stay in place or should it be lifted, and why?
Well, I supported the moratorium, and I still do. Now, the voters of Colorado and Routt County have spoken. And what I see the marijuana situation is that I am reluctant to allow additional commercial activity in unincorporated Routt County. Now, we have a master plan and zoning regulations that have served us very well. And so what I'd like to do is see that this issue and commercial marijuana operations stay in the incorporated communities where they have the regulations in place, the tax system in place, because in Routt County, what we have is we have land use issues, we have air and water quality issues, and then that's not saying anything about the law enforcement situation we have. So I think we have to take a slow and very thoughtful approach to this, but I still maintain that the moratorium is the right thing to do, and it is good till to the end of 2015.
Thank you, Steve. Carrie?
Had a moratorium on all things marijuana while they were seeing how the voters voted. Once the voters in the state of Colorado and in Routt County overwhelmingly approved the legalization of marijuana, the commissioners had the opportunity to renew a moratorium for another 2 years. They just did that last month. I have gone on record saying that I would not have probably renewed a blanket moratorium on marijuana. I think the retail experience in Routt County at Aloha's was a horrible experience for all of Routt County, and probably the worst of what legalized marijuana could represent. But I would certainly have at least had open public hearings to consider grow operations, infused operations, testing operations. I think that what we've seen in the city of Steamboat Springs is that can be regulated well. It's heavily regulated at the state level, and I think it can represent a new agricultural crop in our county.
Okay, thank you. Second question, we'll start with Carrie. Do you think the urban growth boundary is working as intended, or that it's broken because not even a small annexation has been allowed since its adoption? Please explain your position.
I think that the urban growth boundary is broken. I think the process needed to be amended. I know it's been slightly amended by the city and the county at this point. I probably would have gone either farther. The urban growth boundary in the entire time of its existence, and I was on the city council for 6 years and the planning commission for 5, not one single application ever met the hurdles to even go apply for annexation. When one single application cannot be approved ever, I think that's an indication that there's a problem with the process. What the urban growth boundary is doing, it's actually creating more sprawl. Rather than having building permits issued primarily in the city of Steamboat Springs, they're being issued in the county. That's just data that you can look at. If you look at the permits that have been issued in the last 10 years, we're growing faster in the county than in the urban core, which is where we want to grow to preserve our agricultural spaces.
Thank you. Steve?
Well, I actually think the urban growth boundary has served us well. Now, yes, there are some problems when it came to the adjustments to the boundary. And you have to understand there are 4 groups that have to look at this and approve it. And over the years, both the city and the county have looked at it and their planning commissions. Well, for the last 2 years, I've been on the Area Plan Coordinating Committee. I happen to be the chairman of that committee, and we tackled this issue. And yes, it was difficult, but I think we came to a real good consensus. We worked hard on this. So what we were able to do is define what a minor change is and a major change. What we had changes, and what we had was we had these small parcels adjacent to the city limits that were on city infrastructure that really made a lot of sense to enter them in or allow them to go for annexation, which they still have to do. That's a tough process. But Routt County and Steamboat Springs looks the way it is and does because of this hard line to protect our urban and between urban and rural parts of our county.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, final question, and we'll start with Steve. Where does economic development fall on your priority list as a county commissioner, and how would you help drive business growth for the area?
It's right up there as one of our number 1 priorities. I think that the county commissioners have done actually a pretty good job of setting the table and a foundation for economic growth, and I'll give you a couple examples. We are investing in the improvement to the Yampa Valley Regional Airport and its runway. We have also collaborated with the town of Hayden in building this new water tank they have, which is going to add redundancy and better water quality. And what it's going to allow Hayden and all of Routt County is to set the foundation for economic development. We also have been working on expanded broadband and redundancy, which is going to help the hospital. It's going to help location-neutral businesses, and it's going to say to those people with businesses looking at Routt County, I'm going there because they're serious about economic development.
Thank you, Steve. Carrie?
I think one of the common refrains that I'm hearing is transition to new economies. The commissioners have out a draft action plan, and it's transitioning to future energy economies. The number 1 sentence in that draft plan is that we can no longer compete with 19th century industrial carbon industries, and we need to transition to 21st century energy economies. What I would say is, why do we need to transition? Instead of being a transition economy, why can't we be a growth economy? Some of you may have seen a picture of my grandfather in the paper over the last several weeks out checking on gas wells on skis. He used skis for the energy industry. Today we use skis for recreation and tourism. We didn't give up the gas industry, we grew the economy. So what I would say as a commissioner is I would certainly reject the war on coal. I would make things, to keep that industry going, keep oil and gas growing, and grow the economy rather than transition the economy.
Steve, were you using your orange card?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
My challenger has brought up what is a work-in-progress strategic plan. This is yet to be adopted. But what we are doing is we are looking at all the issues out there that we need to address on a local level, on a local perspective. So when it comes to facing the fact that we have challenges ahead of us when it comes to providing for our fleets, we might look at natural gas to power our fleets. We'll continue to look at solar panels. But that is what that is all about. And I really think it's important to understand that this draft plan, which is yet to be adopted, is just that, a draft plan. It's a work in progress.
Thank you, Steve. Carrie, your response?
My response is I will explain something that actually happened at the commissioner's level. It's not a draft. They revised their zoning regulations, and when they did that, the commissioners incorporated provisions that would effectively preclude any future mining zoning designation. This is for the Peabody coal mine, for coal mining operations. In addition, the new regulations for mining were substantially modified, lumping mining in together with oil and gas development. There's a lot of concern about oil and gas development, which does not apply to coal industry. It also eliminated many uses by right, adding additional costs and time delays. We don't want to make the war on coal worse at the county level.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to the closing portion, and so we will begin with Steve.
Thank you, Lisa. I have a record of results. Our bond issuer rating has been improved. Paving and safety improvements to County Road 14 and County Road 129. They've never been better. Collaboration with the town of Hayden to upgrade its water system. Faster, more reliable broadband connections and improved redundancy. That's benefiting the hospital, the school districts, the city, the county, and our location-neutral businesses. And the prudent disbursement of PDR conservation funds have preserved over 38,000 acres. We've invested in the rehabilitation of the Yampa Valley Regional Airport runway. By next year at this time, it'll be a brand new runway. We've made progress in restructuring the rules expanding that urban growth boundary. And let's not forget our responsible oil and gas regulations. Over the last 2 years, I have developed many productive relationships and partnerships, locally and statewide, representing you, the people of Routt County. I want to continue to be your county commissioner because I believe in giving back to my community. And I believe in effective government. My name is Steve Ivancy, and I respectfully ask for your support and your vote. Thank you.
Carrie?
When I opened, I described Routt County as a place where dreams can come true. And I believe that, and I believe that every elected representative and challenger that you have seen tonight or will see wants that for Routt County or for Colorado. But it takes more than good intentions to be a good elected representative. It takes somebody who will be open and transparent when conducting the public's business and someone that knows how to make good choices when it comes to budgets. When I came in front of you in 2010 or 2007 when I was running for the Steamboat Springs City Council, those were the two commitments I made. And when I finished my term, the paper wrote that whether or not you agree or disagree with my politics, you would be hard-pressed to argue that I hadn't kept my promises. Tonight, you've gotten 13 minutes of Steve and I total. So if you want the chance to learn a little bit more about us and kick our tires, we're going to be together for a solid hour at Butcher Knife Brewing Company on Thursday starting at 6 o'clock. Hope to see you there.
Next, we have our county treasurer candidates, Nikki Knoebel, Democrat candidate, and Britta Horn, Republican. And based on ballot order, we will begin with Nikki. And when you're ready, Nikki, a 2-minute opening, please.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you to all the sponsors, and thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm Nikki Knoebel. Yes, it is pronounced with a K, Knoebel, so remember that. I'm the mayor of Oak Creek. Also, I am the vice president of the Routt County United Way, and I'm the chair of the Live Well Northwest Colorado Coalition. I am running to be your next Routt County treasurer and public trustee. I'm running to use my finance skills, my experience in government, and my experience in nonprofits. I'm a trusted steward of the taxpayers' money, and transparency are already leadership abilities I use as the mayor of Oak Creek with all of our dealings with our budget and everything else there. I'm also a loyal, respected manager at Catamount Ranch and Club for the past 14 years. I create, maintain, and held accountable for a $500,000 budget a year. Some of my most proud accomplishments that I've made happen in Oak Creek in the past 5 years is I've been able to balance a $3 million budget and keep it in the black. I've been able to, and I've been able to create significant grant funding to help trails, to upgrade our parks, and to write a community recreational plan. We've also been able to hire 2 police officers, and we've been able to start a summers program and put money in the reserve. So I am here to tell you that Routt County Treasurer is not a political position, it is a professional position. And I am here to bring all my areas of expertise as my Organizational skills, I'm detail-oriented, conflict resolution, and I have great communication skills. So I'm asking you for your vote for Nikki Knoebel as your next Routt County Treasurer and Public Trustee.
Thank you, Nikki.
And thank you very much. I'm so glad everybody is here. Can you hear me okay? Okay, all right. So thank you. So I am Britta Horn, your Routt County Treasurer and Public Trustee. And since I've been in office, you have had complete transparency, you've had diligent and fair office, we've been fiscally accountable, and we've been really good stewards of your money. And to the point where the good steward of your money, I took an oath that I said I would be responsible for your tax dollars and making sure that they're handled properly. Experience matters. Since 1980s, in the 80s, I have been in finance positions. I started out with corporate America with the Westin and Hyatt hotels as cost controller, cost analyst, that sent me out from Washington, D.C., out here to Colorado, worked here locally, and then managed to marry my favorite rancher, 23 years, the cutest one, and then started working for accounts payable and accounts receivables and payroll, working for local companies, local restaurants, local plumbing companies, and I still even do the paperwork for the ranch, our Raymond Horn Ranch. So, oops, my bad. What experience allows me to do is I've been able to get increase in all the checks and balances in our department. I've been able to create the first and only standard operating procedures that our office needed. It was a handbook to just show how to do the processes in our office. And I've been able to take all the computer systems and really utilize them because a lot of the bank reconciliations have been were done manually, and I was able to put them on the computer and quickly get them up to order. The experience matters. Right now, we have $53 million that we get in our taxes. We have $24 million in investments, and we have over 200 foreclosure files right now that represent close to $20 million in principle that we still need to gather. So I am your treasurer. I truly appreciate your vote. Britta Horn for Routt County Treasurer and Public Trustee.
Okay, Britta, we'll start with you for the first question. Handling taxpayers' money and overseeing Routt County's finances is a huge responsibility. What qualifies you for that responsibility and for that job?
As I said, I'm already doing it. I've been doing it for 2 years, and 2 years ago I was appointed by Nancy Stahoviak and Doug Monger, and then also Diane was in a part of that. We had 8 representatives, people that were applying for this appointment when Jeannie had retired. I have the experience of doing it now. I have always been very, very much involved in all the finances of everything I do, even when I was on Cattle Women or now on the 4-H and the Heritage Foundation building. Every time I walk into any kind of event, any part of volunteer work that I do, I get handed the checkbook. So I'm always handling that. People understand I understand it, how to take care of bank reconciliations, and making sure I'm a good steward for your dollars.
Thank you, Britta. Nikki? I sure will. I was going to ask. Okay, handling taxpayers' money and overseeing Routt County finances is a huge responsibility. What qualifies you for that job?
Okay, great. As I was talking about in my opening, I am the mayor of Oak Creek, and I've been the mayor for the past 5 years, and we have really worked on our budget there, and getting in the reserve and being able to do these capital upgrades that we want to do in Oak Creek. And again, I'm so proud of everything we have done with that budget in monies that I know that gives me the experience, and I want to continue working for my community. And this has been such a big involvement. Mayor, I've learned so many great things in the past 5 years that I don't want to stop and I want to continue. So running as Routt County Treasurer is the perfect way for me to continue using my leadership and financial skills in conjunction with my experience in local government and nonprofit sectors.
Thank you, Nikki. And then the second question is back at you, Nikki. Are there any efficiencies that can be achieved in the treasurer's office? If so, what are they and how would you achieve those?
I think a lot of that I would have to learn as soon as I get in there, but I've had multiple conversations with Jeannie Whidden and with the county's accounting department and with past employees on how it would be efficient. But I think going in with good management skills and financial background, you would learn those things and figure that out quickly being in there and cleaning things up.
Thank you, Nikki. Britta.
Well, I think these I've already showed a great deal of them, getting it back on track, putting everything that the checks and balances into place, putting everything on the website, and putting everything, actually all the bank reconciliations on the software has led us right away to some of the problems that we were having, some discrepancies that we're having, and they easily came to the top and we were able to take care of them. One of the past ones that there's a lot of projects that just were never handled after 20, 30 years. They were just put on the back burner, put on the back shelf and not handled, like county held liens. And it's taken both the commissioners and I about a year and a half to figure out how to get those county held liens that weren't sold at other tax lien sales, that were put on these back burners, and then to turn around and get them back put on the tax roll. So in December, after our tax lien sale, we're going to go ahead and put those on our website and just bring those monies and get them back on the tax roll so that I can turn around and get the monies back into all the groups that we send our money to all the schools, the libraries, cemeteries, water districts. I'm sure I'm missing a couple other ones too. Oh, Horizons, that we make sure all the money goes back that you guys voted for and wanted the monies to go to.
Thank you, Britta. Okay, I'm sorry, Nikki, go ahead.
That as a hardworking employee and manager, that I would know as soon as I got in there any way to make those efficiencies better in the Routt County office.
Okay, Britta?
We find out how to find out what we need to be doing is always left into the Colorado Constitution and the Colorado Revised Statutes. And then so for Title 38, that's where we find out all the things we can do for a public trustee. And Title 30 is where we find everything we can do for treasurers. So we're following the rules, every rule, have those books open all the time and working on that.
Thank you. Third and final question, Britta, we'll start with you. Is transparency a priority for you as county treasurer? And in what ways would you make the county treasurer's office even more transparent?
Well, seeing as that's what I've been running on since the very beginning, complete transparency. It's just being available and open to everybody. Just like I have when I am the volunteer fire chief and I go on calls. It's 24/7. We are called at any time to go on calls. So you have to be available and ready, and that transparency turns into our office as making sure everything is on that website. There's nothing better for me to understand that somebody at 2 in the morning sitting in their jammies and they really want to know the cost of something or know if a lien is coming up, that they can go on their website and find that information there. So right there is where we've been showing all our transparency.
Thank you, Britta. Nikki?
Yes, like I said, starting out, transparency as being the mayor of Oak Creek has been something that we've upheld for the past 5 years as I've been mayor. And it was all open records always as government at the town of Oak Creek. But transparency is nothing new, as Britta just explained. And as the mayor of Oak Creek, we do open our books. We are always there. Our website we've just upgraded so that you can listen to the Planning Commission minutes online and do all these other things. So transparency is something that we've all tried to uphold in government positions. And we've all been asked to do this, and we all do what we say in our government positions. So thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. And now we'll do a 1-minute closing. Britta?
Very proud of what we've done already, what we've done in our office. Very proud to serve Routt County. Routt County seems to have, coming from the city girl, coming to the country, absolutely, we have neighbors. We're neighbors for each other. And when neighbors need help, they're not calling neighbors to see whether they need it for, are you a Democrat, are you a Republican, are you an independent? They don't call for that. They call for help, just like they do in an emergency call. So when a neighbor and a taxpayer comes and they come to the front door, window, or they call and say, I need help, I can't pay the taxes, or I need help, going through foreclosure. I want to be there and be there for them and to really show not only the tradition in terms of how I've been a part of the family, I've been part of this ranch family that's been here, a pioneer here in Routt County, and then also bring that advancement of all the computer and software and technology and bringing it up to the 21st century. So I am your neighbor, want to continue being your neighbor, continue being a public servant for you. So I am Britta Horn, and I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Nikki?
Hello. I would like to thank again Lisa and all our sponsors up here on the wall. As I said before, I think the office of treasurer is a professional position and not political. I have demonstrated the ability that I can run a government, that I can balance a budget, and I can manage staff. I understand the necessity of clean audits, modern but thorough accounting, and transparency. My goal is to make sure all of your concerns and your suggestions are dealt with in a professional and timely manner. I will be responsible to the taxpayers of this county, and I will take that responsibility very seriously. I have been and will continue to be an active leader in this community. So I ask for your vote for Nikki Knoebel as your next treasurer and public trustee. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will have County Coroner and Daryl Levinston, Democratic candidate for coroner, is here, and Rob Rigg could not be here, and Garrett Wiggins is going to stand in for him. So if you both would come up, please. We will start with Daryl. We'll let you start with your 2-minute opening, please.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm a retired EMT after 18 years of service in our county. I am a 21-year veteran of Routt County Search and Rescue, and for the past 14 years I've been an incident commander on the team as well. That gives me the basic skills for doing this job well. But the reason that I'm really running for this job is because of my mom. My mom always said, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, like most of your moms probably told you growing up. And in our county, we have an unacceptable number of unnecessary deaths, whether due to suicide, drugs or alcohol abuse, risky behavior. The numbers are through the roof. Our county is among the highest in the nation for completed suicides per capita. To me, that's just unacceptable. And as your county coroner, I feel that I can have an impact in reducing those numbers. In prevention programs, the county coroner can have a voice that nobody else in the county can use. We have a unique opportunity to relate to people who are in crisis, people, our at-risk population and our kids, to be able to speak to them in a way that nobody else can. And that's something that I would like to see done in this office. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. And then Garrett, we'll give you time to speak on behalf of Rob, 3 minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you, and thank you all for being here tonight. Again, my name is Garrett Wiggins. I am your current sheriff. I'm not here to talk about myself tonight, thankfully. But I am here to talk about a good friend and your current coroner, Rob Rigg. Rob couldn't be here tonight. He's been gone for a couple of weeks dealing with some family issues, and he's apologized for not being here, but has asked me to step in and say a few words for him. So he gave me a document here to read from. And so Rob has lived in Steamboat Springs for the last 32 years. He and his wife, Lynn, have 2 married children and 4 grandchildren. Rob owned a furniture manufacturing company in Steamboat for 7 years, and he pastored Uzoa Bible Church for 18 years. Rob and his wife were caretakers of the Elkstone Ranch in Strawberry Park for 17 years, and for the past 11 years, Rob has been your Routt County coroner. Prior to being elected, he was deputy coroner for 7 years. Rob has investigated over 400 cases in Routt County, and he is a certified Colorado coroner, which means he has attended a prescribed number of autopsies and has over 200 hours of death investigation. His job is to determine the cause and manner of death for those who die unexpectedly or unattended in Routt County. He makes notifications to the next of kin and signs death certificates. Over the past 18 years, Rob has developed a great working relationship with law enforcement and first responders. Rob has a solid track record and knows how to investigate the manner in which people die in Routt County. He is running on years of experience, his reputation, and is looking forward to serving Routt County in this important role for the next 4 years, and would very much appreciate your vote. Now, those are Rob's words, and I just want to add in a few extra words for Rob on his behalf. I have a great deal of respect for both of these men that are running for this office. As I've worked with Daryl in his capacity as a volunteer in search and rescue, but I've also worked with Rob for the last 15 years in my capacity as a law enforcement officer, and through our working relationship as in his position as coroner. Rob is a great man. He's very dedicated to community. He's very ethical, and he loves this community, and he loves his job. I know Rob will appreciate your vote and your continued support for the next 4 years. Thank you.
And now, Daryl, I'll ask you a series of 3 questions, which will be kind of odd. You have no one else to banter back with. But first of all, there you go. Good. We can keep this going and going. You kind of alluded to this, but being a county coroner is a tough job. So why do you want to be county coroner?
You know, everybody asks me that. You know, for the past 20-plus years, I've devoted my life to the citizens of Routt County in a volunteer capacity. Not for any glory or any other reason that I love this community. I can't believe that I'm lucky enough to live here. And I'm always looking for ways to give back. And when I started learning about the outrageous number of unnecessary deaths in our county, I felt that I needed to do something about that. And the skills that I learned in search and rescue led me to believe that those skills could be transferred over to this position as the county coroner and add this component that right now is not being addressed and possibly have an impact in reducing those numbers.
Thank you. Secondly, part of the coroner's job is dealing with law enforcement. Is there anything that you think could be improved in the dealings with law enforcement, or anything you would change?
No, nothing at all, actually. The coroner's office has a great working relationship with all law enforcement agencies in the county. Something that people don't understand is that the coroner is an independent advocate for the deceased. He doesn't work for the law enforcement agency, doesn't work for the families, doesn't work for the newspaper. His sole purpose is to determine the cause of death or the manner in which the person died, and to be that voice, to put that word out to the public as to how this happened.
And lastly, you touched upon this as well, but as the coroner, you're dealing with families at probably the darkest time of their lives. So what equips you to deal with grieving families?
I work with search and rescue. For the past 14 years as an incident commander, when things do not have a good outcome, as sometimes they do, it's been my responsibility to work with the families through that process. Even when we have good outcomes, all the family members are always thinking the worst, and so dealing with the friends and family, parents, children of the people that we're dealing with has always been my job. It's skills that I was not very comfortable with in the beginning. I dreaded it. I grew to become good at it, and as recently as the past many years, I've considered it an honor to be able to provide that service to the families and get them through this difficult time.
Thank you. And now we'll give you a minute to close.
You know, Rob is a great guy, as Garrett said. We've worked together for years. We get along very well. I have a tremendous amount of respect for him and have no problems with the way the job is being done. I don't look at a job as saying what the statutory requirements are of the job and stopping there. I always, in my whole life, have gone above and beyond what people expect of me. And this component of adding prevention programs to the job is something that I feel is so important. We have, as I said before, this outrageously high number of completed suicides in our county. Highest in the nation per capita, one of the highest. And if we can reduce that number by just 5%, look around at the people that are sitting next to you. Look to your left and look to your right. Those people might not be here next year. That's the 5%. If we can do that, then I'll consider my time well spent in serving the citizens of Routt County. Thank you.
And now we're going to end the evening by talking. We have some people here who are going to be presenting pros and cons of the different amendments and propositions that will be on the ballot. So first of all, we will be discussing Amendment 67. And I believe that we have Katie Wolf here to speak. And again, we've allotted them 3 minutes. It's not a whole lot of time, but we're trying to get you guys out here at a reasonable hour. So Katie, thank you for being here, and go ahead.
Opportunity to speak with you about Amendment 67. I'm Katie Wolf. I'm the Deputy Campaign Manager for the Amendment 67, the Vote No Amendment 67 campaign. And I'm here to talk to you about some of the dangers of Amendment 67, which will be on the ballot soon in your mailbox. Our campaign is based, it's a broad-based coalition of over 61 organizations and growing every day. Some of those organizations include the Colorado Medical Society, the Colorado Academy of Family Physicians, the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, the Colorado Bar Association, and many, many others. So we're a group of doctors and lawyers and healthcare advocates, faith leaders. There's many, many organizations involved in this side of the campaign, and we're all banding together to urge you to vote no on 67 when you get your ballot. Amendment 67 is a proposed constitutional amendment that would ban abortion in all cases, including rape, incest, and when the mother's life is at risk. And it would even ban form and forms of birth control like the IUD, emergency contraception, and the pill. The amendment simply goes too far, and we are really urging everyone to think about the dangerous consequences of what this amendment, the impact this amendment would have on the constituents of Colorado. Amendment 67 is asking voters to define a person to include unborn human beings. So that means that at the moment a woman's egg is fertilized, then it has the same constitutional rights as everyone sitting in this room. The actual ballot wording is really tricky this year. It specifically says, do you want to amend the Constitution to protect pregnant women by including or defining person and child to include unborn human beings and apply that definition to the Colorado Criminal Code and wrongful death statutes? Of course, we all want to protect pregnant women, but Amendment 67 is not the way. It just simply goes too far. I mean, this would mean that if your aunt, your sister, your mother, anyone who you know has had a miscarriage, that potentially puts her and her doctor up for investigation, criminal investigation, if there was a miscarriage. That's one of the best examples, I think, honestly, in how this would negatively impact one of the dangers. We all know that women who have suffered miscarriages, and it's very unfortunate, but Amendment 67 is simply not the way. No matter how you personally feel about abortion, this amendment goes too far. It takes about 3 steps past that in banning preventative methods and also making it a criminal, and we'd have to investigate doctors and the pregnant women who suffer these cases. So we urge you all to vote no on Amendment 67.
Thank you very much, Katie, for being here. And we did reach out to the No on 67 campaign, and and invited them to be here or submit a video, and we did not get that, so we just are going to get one side tonight. Then we're going to move on to Amendment 68, and we have Chrissy Faraci is here to speak against Amendment 68.
You. Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. My name again is Chrissy Faraci, and I'm with the Don't Turn Racetracks into Casinos campaign. There was an article in the paper today in the Steamboat Pilot, I believe, sort of outlining the pros and the cons on 68. Of course, I'm here to talk about the cons, but to be fair, I'll give you just a snapshot of what the proposal is. Not quite as complicated as 67, but close. What this proposal is to expand major casino-style Las Vegas gaming in our state of Colorado. It would allow that at 3 additional locations beyond where it's at, constitutionally authorized today at Cripple Creek, Blackhawk, and Central City. The proposal, it proposes to expand it at Arapahoe Park in the middle of Aurora, in major metropolitan area, in Pueblo and Mesa. But in all practicality, when you read the initiative language, and the blue book is back there, it is designed by a Twin Rivers Casino out of Rhode Island, a Rhode Island company, major casino operator, to put the largest casino in our state. It is larger than a combined Blackhawk and Central City in the middle of a major metropolitan area, with proceeds tied as their hook or their shield to K through 12 education. It's a great idea. No one opposes funding K through 12 education. I certainly don't with kids in public school. But this is not the way to go about it. When you look at the details of the initiative, $114 million annually, divided between 178 school districts, 800,000 plus kids. It amounts to, on its best day, $120 per kid. I find it really fishy that when you don't have one endorsement from your beneficiary coming out in support of your proposal, that it's a bad idea. It's always been a bad idea. It will continue to be a bad idea. When they bring it forward every 2 years, it's going to be a bad idea. Our endorsements, let me speak to that, include the Colorado Association of School Boards, Colorado Counties, Colorado Municipal League, the League of Women Voters, the Colorado Forum, Denver Public Schools, Historic Denver, and numerous others. So many I can't go through all of those right now. The initiative does not allow for a 22-year-old requirement that's on our books right now for a local citizen vote. So Arapahoe County and Aurora would not get a chance to vote on this measure. There's no prescribed impact fees to cover the $63 million costs. And I just will end on quoting the Denver Post. What Amendment 68, will do is damage gaming communities and mountain towns, deplete gaming tax revenues for those casinos, and in all probability, force spending of local taxes for roads to accommodate added traffic. Yes, we need better funding for K through 12, but this is not the way to do it. I ask for you to, when you get your ballots in the mail tomorrow, to vote no, and vote no to preserve the $14 million that the existing casinos give in state tourism marketing money to our great state of Colorado, and in particular to Steamboat, Routt County. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chrissy. And we reached out to the no, the yes. What I've written down is no pro. So that's tripping me up. So we reached out to the pro Amendment 68 group, and they are not represented here tonight as well. We will now move on to Proposition 104, and Scott Berry is here to speak on behalf of the proposition, I believe. And yes. Welcome, Scott.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me here. Mine's very simple, comparatively speaking, to everything else that's been going on tonight. And I'm going to start by as we the people, and let me repeat that in case you have gone to sleep. As we the people, how many of you recognize that as being the beginning of the preamble to the Constitution of the United States? Aha, good. There are many unalienable rights granted and protected by the Constitution that we as citizens value. The fundamental principles of openness, public debate, and accountability are central to our democracy. We need to know what government is doing in order to hold our leaders accountable. In recent years, the issue of transparency, and we certainly heard a lot about that tonight, in government has become primary concern to all citizens, both liberal and conservatives. Proposition 104 will make the school district's collective bargaining process open for all of us to see, and certainly is a giant step toward that transparency. With the resulting mandatory open meetings, we citizens can hold our school boarding accountable. The non-union teachers will get a clear picture of their unfettered information and the proposed employment contracts. And the union teachers can be guaranteed that their union representatives are using their dues to represent their desires. As the Denver Post states, That's why a transparent process is needed. To begin with, it would let the public see what both sides are doing, the board and the union, and if they're making reasonable proposals and whether they're willing to compromise. The opposition to Proposition 104, primarily the Colorado Education Associations, has made several spurious arguments, but truthfully, their opposition to openness and transparency is a mystery. As the Colorado Springs Gazette clearly states, our public schools are not funded for the benefit of union leaders. They are to benefit the children in the manner that advances individuals and proper society. In closing, the Denver Post puts it best in their overwhelming endorsement. Proposition 104 is a sound, modest improvement on the present open meetings law, and voters should approve it.
Thank you, Scott. And I am going to, as about an hour before the meeting, I had heard that someone from Proposition 104 might be here. Has anyone come? 105. No, 104. Yeah, don't mess me up again. 104. Okay, I'm sorry, we do not have someone speaking out against Proposition 104. So we will end the evening on Proposition 105. And we have 2 videos submitted, and we'll play those, and then I will close briefly. Thank you for your attention and patience.
Hi, I'm Sarah Freilich. Thank you to the people of Steamboat Springs for allowing us the opportunity to speak to you tonight about No on Proposition 105. And thank you for taking time out of your evenings to learn more about what's on the ballot. Keep an eye out on for your mailboxes. You know that you'll be getting your ballots any day, and I encourage you to take a close look at Proposition 105. Take a look at the facts, and I encourage you to join us in voting no on Proposition 105. The No on 105 coalition is a very broad coalition of over 60,000 farmers, ranchers, business leaders, scientific experts, and consumers who are all coming together to oppose Proposition 105 because it doesn't do what it says it's going to do, and it's going to drive up costs. It's going to drive up costs every step of the way due to all of the increased segregation and verification processes that would be required under Proposition 105. And under Proposition 105, if this passes, there would be no end to the taxpayer dollars that would be sent. There's no dedicated funding stream. And it would increase costs every step along the way, hitting small family farmers and small businesses the hardest. And for a family of 4 like mine, I have 2 small kids, we would be paying more in grocery bills to the tune of hundreds of dollars a year. Hundreds of dollars a year, and all of that paying for a system that does not provide accurate or reliable information. It will not tell consumers which products actually contain GMOs and which don't, because 2/3 of all products sold would be arbitrarily exempt. It doesn't make sense. So we have meat and dairy products, for example, that would be exempt, even if it was derived from an animal that was raised on genetically modified feed. We have products like cheese and some breads that do contain GMOs that would be arbitrarily exempt. And on the other hand, it's so poorly written that products like canola oil and sugar that do not contain any GMOs would be forced to be labeled. So you have products that would be labeled that don't contain GMOs and products that would be exempt that do. It doesn't make sense. If you want information about what's in your food and which products contain GMOs and which don't, please look to the non-GMO verified label or the USDA certified organic label that are consistent, they're reliable, and they do not put Colorado at a competitive disadvantage. Please join our coalition and vote no on Proposition 105. If you'd like more information, please go to our website at www.noon105.com and don't forget to vote.
Hi, I'm Tammy DeVille Merrill, campaign manager for Right to Know Colorado. Vote yes on 105. And I'm so sorry I couldn't be there. My office is in Denver, but this is definitely a statewide initiative. We have volunteers right there in Steamboat and many citizens there who signed the petition, as well as citizens in every corner of the state. Proposition 105 is for Coloradans by Coloradans. So let's talk about Proposition 105. Proposition 105 requires the labeling of foods that have been genetically engineered. So what is a GMO, or a genetically modified or engineered organism? GMOs are organisms that have been altered at the genetic level. So genes from one plant or organism are inserted into the DNA of another plant or organism. This happens in an unnatural fashion in a way that does not occur in nature. And no long-term human health studies have been done, giving us the information to know whether it's safe to modify food in this fashion. So for that reason, Proposition 105 simply asks for the labeling of foods that have been genetically engineered with a simple addition to the label, produced with genetic engineering. And this is a statutory amendment, not a constitutional amendment. So there's lots of room for public and legislative input to fine-tune the details of this initiative. And let's talk about exemptions. There are some exemptions. Because of the single subject law, we can only cover one subject at a time. So we've chosen foods that are labeled currently. So this will be regulated under an agency that currently exists to enforce labeling. Let's talk about costs. The costs of regulating will be minimal because it is being regulated by an existing agency. The cost breaks down to about 2 cents per Coloradan, or $130,000 per year. And as far as food costs go, 64 other countries require the labeling of genetically engineered foods. None of them saw a spike in grocery costs. And our own Consumers Union, the policy arm of Consumers Report, recently released a study showing that the cost would be minimal at about $2.30 per year per Coloradan. So we believe Proposition 105 is a reasonable first step to allow Coloradans to have full information when they're making food choices for themselves and their families. Proposition 105 is not a warning, it is not a ban, it is simply a label. And I'll let you know that there are 39 pieces of legislation in process right now in over 20 states. So this is a national movement happening state by state, and we believe Colorado can lead the way. So join us in supporting labeling of genetically engineered foods and vote yes on 105. To learn more, get your questions answered, and get involved in our campaign, please visit voteyeson105.com. Thank you.
That concludes our forum tonight, and I just want to thank you all for coming out tonight. And the whole purpose of this was to educate and inform voters. Hopefully that is what was accomplished here. And I would also encourage you, if you all have comments, I now wish I had a survey or something, but if you have comments about how you would like to see maybe the forum improved, a different format, please feel free to email me. My email is, you can get on the website, and please reach out to me and let me know. We always want to improve if we can. And again, I just thank you for being here and caring enough to be here about your community. Thank you very much. Have a good night.